Welcome back to some more Flesh and Blood learning here on Teleshare. So we're up to the last few decks. I think I'm just going to blow through them pretty quickly. We've gone over most of the heroes, and these ones just sort of build on top of them with the different subtypes. So, for instance, the Tale of Aria ties in the different elements. So, was it Ice, Earth, and Lightning? And then FaB and Dromai are the Ninja and Illusionist with Draconic. So we'll just take a quick peek at the decks, discuss the heroes, and then next time, I can move on to actually building our first deck. Single player, let's take a look at what Odheim has. Or Oldhim. I think Odheim is better because it's sort of a play on Odin. Okay, so you are the Elemental Guardian hero. You have Essence of Ice and Earth, meaning you can have Earth and Ice cards in your deck. Your weapon is the basic hammer, so pretty simple. What's your ability? Once per turn, defense reaction, pay 3. If an Earth card is pitched this way, prevent the next 2 damage that would be dealt to Odheim. If an Ice card is pitched this way, the attacking hero puts a card from their hand on top of their deck. So either way, you're sort of stalling or protecting yourself. I would feel that the first ability, the Earth ability, is far better, because obviously they're going to redraw that card at the end of their turn, since they're the attacker. Curious. What about our actual card structure? So we still have a lot of the Guardian things, so it should most likely be, obviously, defense. We gain all our different buffs, and then we work on smacking the opponent. So anything that sort of jumps up, let's just go through a couple cards, I guess. So, Fused. So Ice Fusion. As an additional cost to play X card, you may reveal an Ice card from your hand. So I'm going to assume that's the same across all the different elements. Yep, so Earth Fusion, reveal an Earth card, and you gain an effect. So if it was fused, the attacking hero discards a card unless they pay 2. So this is a far better effect than our passive in terms of the Ice, make them cycle a card essentially, because they're actually discarding it and they're losing it completely. They don't get it back at the end of their turn. What about Timber? Just extra defense. If it hits a hero, their first attack during their next turn has -2. So I would say this is more defensive than Bravo as well, because Bravo was very much stack up your auras and then swing for some big damage. Do we have any? We do have an aura. So when it enters the arena, if it was fused, create a Seismic Surge token. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy strength of the Sequoia. Then the next attack action card you play gains 3 damage. So there we're seeing some of the aura stacking. A Seismic Surge token. Do we have anything that actually tells me what it is, or do I have to look it up on my own? So it reads, at the beginning of your action phase, destroy the Surge token. Then the next Guardian action you play this turn costs 1 less. That's really good. So we have some cost reduction and all around more just defensive actions. So definitely a slower hero. Nothing really exciting about it or anything that really jumps up at me. The hero ability, definitely, I don't see the value in the Ice one. Yes, it's disruption, but again, they're getting it back at the end of the turn, so they can just cycle a bad card or a card they don't need until they're defending, or they want it to pitch next turn, something like that. So it's not really benefiting you to activate the Ice version of that ability, especially if you have to pay 3 to get them to cycle a card. Anyway, we'll move on. Next up is Briar, the Elemental Runeblade hero. So we have Earth and Lightning this time instead of Earth and Ice. The first time an attack action card you control deals damage to an opposing hero, create an Embodiment of Earth token. The second time you play a non-attack action card each turn, create an Embodiment of Lightning token. So first up, the Embodiment of Earth. Non-attack action cards you control have +1 defense while defending. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy Embodiment of Earth. So if you don't use it, you lose it. Straight away, very different playstyle to the other 2 Runeblade heroes. What about the Lightning? Embodiment of Lightning. When you play an attack action card, destroy Embodiment of Lightning, and the attack gains go again. So this one you get to keep until you want to use it, and all it does is let you chain your attacks together. There is no increase in damage or even a higher rate of tempo like Chain, where you're banishing cards and then have a lot of ways to play them for a reduced cost. So altogether, I guess it's just Runeblade in name, but it seems very far removed from the other 2 styles. What about our weapon? Once per turn, attack. Whenever you attack with Rosetta Thorn, if you've played an attack action this card and a non-attack action this card, deal 2 arcane damage to your target hero. So that's still very much in the grain of Runeblade. You want to play both attack actions and non-attack action cards altogether, but it's not jumping out as this whole stacking damage. It seems like you're just trying to tempo rather than, build up a board presence through your tokens or auras. Sorry, I should use the right terminology. And then dealing a massive swing turn to your opponent. In that sense, though, they do have a better defense aspect than the other two rune blades, which does make them slightly more beneficial. So it seems like you've got Vizari, if I'm saying that right, who is attack heavy, Chain, who is tempo heavy, and then Briar, who is defense heavy. So 3 different playstyles around the rune blade, which isn't a bad concept. I would like to see them have a similar vein in a core mechanic, and I think they could have just stuck with, say, the rune chant tokens, just different ways to generate them and pop them. Okay, what about abilities? Explosive growth. So again, we're seeing that fusion. It just deals more damage, or... Yeah, so when fused, 1 extra damage. When you attack, deal 1 arcane damage. So we're attacking on arcane damage to a lot of our cards, right? From what I'm seeing. Which is very interesting, because none of our abilities are directly doing arcane damage. It seems to be an additive effect if they hit. Which is, again, is kind of out of the ordinary of the other two rune blades, because we're not dealing that direct damage. We're a lot more just melee focused. Okay, so our core elemental rune blade actions are really just, they have fusion, and if they have fusion, they do more damage. They're not anything spectacular. Like, they're not generating tokens. All our tokens come from our basic ability. It's interesting. Right from the get-go, though, the theme between the 3 elemental heroes seems to be very overlapped. It's just fusion. Yes, we did see that in Blood Debt and the Soul mechanic, but both... What's his name? Bolton? There we go. Both Bolton and Prism had a different way of utilizing their soul through Charge and the other mechanic, whatever Prism's was, Phantasm or something like that. And then, of course, Chain and Levia both have different interaction with Blood Debt. Levia is warding off Blood Debt so that they can deal high damage, and then Chain is actually making use of the banished cards, whereas this is just reveal X card for additive effects. Which isn't bad, it pales in comparison to Monarch, if you were to view that set before this set, like I have. Yeah, okay, so not really like a normal Runeblade hero, in my opinion. I would like to have seen the tokens more in sense of direct damage, or, well, I guess they're similar to Chain in terms of the tempo improvement. It's just a more defensive Runeblade from the onset, from the overlook. What about Lexi? So Lexi is the Elemental Ranger hero. So Ice and Lightning. This time, turn a face-down card in your arsenal face up. If it's a lightning card, your next attack this turn gains go again. If it's an ice card, create a frostbite token under the target hero's control. And also go again. It's a bit better. My understanding is the majority of cards you're putting in your arsenal are face up because they're arrows. So this utility, I mean, it's just go again, so you reveal a lightning card, use it to buff your arrows in some sense. You then use your bow to use your arrows, you attack, but then you need a third way to get a card into your arsenal. Interesting. Where's our Elemental Ranger? So if it was fused, it just deals extra damage, create a Frostbite token. Frostbite token, I should look up. A Frostbite token is cards and abilities cost an additional 1 resource to play. At the beginning of your end phase, or when you play a card or activate an ability, destroy Frostbite. So it's a one-off effect, and if the opponent just stalls, it does nothing. But it's abilities and cards, so it's most likely going to come into effect. It just means that you have no reason to overstack Frostbite. It just gets destroyed at the end of the turn. Yeah, these 3 heroes are definitely not popping off in any sense to me. Like, I don't mind the fusion mechanic, obviously revealing cards, but it almost seems like they should have been 3 different heroes that played into more of this elemental sense rather than being the same. Because the mentality you got to have is, would you rather have access to the elemental cards or the normal ranger cards for a better hero ability? And I would say a better hero ability goes a long way because it's renewable. And no offense to Lexi or Odheim, or I've already forgot Briar, but your abilities don't seem overly appealing to me, at the very least. Yeah, and then it's just the basic Ranger. You're loading up your arrows, playing some action cards to buff it, and then letting it go. All in all, you're most likely only attacking once, which makes Go Again not a huge utility, unless of course a lot of your lightning abilities don't have Go Again. So I guess you could chain a lightning attack with a arrow attack through your bow. That would be the only upside to this play. I feel like the comboing out of Azalea is much better, especially because you can cycle through your deck for, better cards, even if it's just... Okay, with Azalea, if you put an action card into your arsenal, that action card most likely buffs your arrow anyway, and you still have your bow to load up. If you put an arrow card into your quiver, you can just use it straight away, and then you still have your bow to load up. So I don't know. Bit of a miss to me. Okay, next up we have FaB, so the Draconic Ninja. So the normal ninja was all about comboing X cards together. I assume FaB will be very similar. At the start of the... you may start the game with a Phoenix Flame in your graveyard. Once per turn, pay 3, return a Phoenix Flame from your graveyard to your hand. The ability costs 1 less for each Draconic Chain Link you control. So if you've attacked 3 times, then you can... Sorry, not attack 3 times. If you've attacked and used one, say, attack reaction to buff your card, it now costs only 1. I don't know if it means if you attack multiple times, if each of those links counts. If it does, then that's really good. So I'm assuming Phoenix Flame is just a free attack, from what I remember. So Phoenix Flame is if you control 2 or more Draconic Chain Links, Phoenix Flame has 1 damage, and Go Again, otherwise it does 0. Sorry, I misread this. This ability costs 1 less for each Draconic Chain Link. So you already need 2 to actually make Phoenix Flame work, which means you're only paying 1, and then Phoenix Flame itself has a cost of 0. So all in all, you're paying 1 to do 1 extra damage. Yeah, what? That doesn't seem... I guess the whole idea behind the ninja hero is to completely exhaust your opponent's hand. The damage values just seem kind of small to me. What about our actual chain attacks? So... the next attack, this combat chain is Draconic in addition to its other card types. Interesting. Played another red card, so that's slightly different. Again. When you attack with Inflame, nope. So it looks like our chain of cards is not specific. It's very interesting. Because that was the whole thing in the ninja is, in the original ninja, Katsu, you needed to actually play the right cards in sequence. Here it looks like you can chain together a lot of different cards more freely, which makes them inherently better. So they've actually expanded upon the ninja hero rather than not in terms of Tales of Aria. So yeah, you're free to use or tie together a lot more cards. And you're just trying to meet this criteria of having Draconic Chain Links. Interesting. This might be a fun deck. It seems like a lot of cards you can just dump each round. Your attack damage seems alright for the most part too. Okay, what about... oh, this is interesting. Dromite or Phase Specialization. Rupture. Rise Up is played as a chain link 4 or higher, so the 4th attack this turn. It has Dominate. Okay, that terminology explains a bit better. So each chain link is a new attack, not an additional card. So yeah, it's 4 or more higher and has Dominate, where X is twice the number of Phoenix Flames you control. So both of them use Phoenix Flames. That's interesting. Okay, so it's just a finisher, essentially. As a specialization, I think this fits the thematics I was kind of going for a bit more, where it's, it's an attack-heavy card, or you might see a defense-heavy card. I'd still rather an ongoing effect, so like, it's a specialization of your hero. You've drawn into it, and now your hero is empowered for the rest of the fight. But altogether, it just seems like a easier to manage ninja, simply because a lot more of your cards chain together freely. And then Phoenix Flame is the big thing. The clay may add up to 3 flames in the limited format. in an Uprising limited format. I wonder if that works around Blitz. I guess it doesn't, because there's only 2 on here. That's the other thing to consider. The Rise Up can only do 4 extra damage, which is still huge. 7 in 1 hit is massive, and you've got 2 copies. Okay, I'm very interested in this hero. And lastly, we have Kllooooyy. Whenever you pitch a red card, create an Ash token. If you played a red card this turn, dragons you control have go again while attacking. I like dragons, so it's a good start. Okay, and then this is a class-specific weapon. Dragon allies you control have once per turn, action 0, attack. That's awesome. They die when they have 0 life. Well, that makes sense. At the end of turn, allies' life totals reset. Okay, so damage isn't sustained. This is more in mind what I was thinking behind the Illusioner. Prism was far different. Your attacks were illusions. They weren't really things that stuck around. You kept tokens, the spectral shield tokens, but you didn't actually have minions for the most part, it looked like. Okay, where's the dragon though? Here we go. So Phantasm still, so if it's blocked with a non-illusionist attack action card with 6 or more damage, it's destroyed instantly, meaning none of its effects triggered. When it is destroyed, create an Ash token. Another card for me to look up. An Ash token is a material. While Ash is under an object, that object has Phantasm. I'm assuming you need Ash to summon your dragons then. When Dust Up hits, create an Ash token, then transform up to 1 Ash you control into an Aether Ashwing. Another token for me to look up. I'm going to assume this is like your main dragon. I know there's the really pretty big dragons, the Marvel cards, or just the normal versions from opening packs. So, Aether Ashwing, Arcane Barrier. If a hero would be dealt arcane damage, you may pay 1 to prevent 1 of that damage. But it can also attack, unlike the spectral shield of the normal illusionist Prism. So you can stack up a whole bunch of these minions that can do 1 damage for free with your weapon. So it's similar to the Runeblade, granted they all can be blocked, but you build up all your tokens and you swing with them, because they're all free, which is interesting. So you just have a lot of different cards to either generate Ash or transform it. Which is interesting, because it means that the specialization doesn't come into play. Maybe the adult version has a way to utilize Phoenix Flame. Okay, we've got Red Hot, which is again a Kllooooyy or Face Specialist, but it's different. If Red Hot is played as a Chain Link 4 or higher, so I'm assuming if you attack with your Ashwing, that counts as a Chain Link. So if you have 4 minions, you can trigger this effect. That would be my understanding, otherwise I don't see how you, as Kllooooyy, can actually get a high enough amount of attacks to trigger these types of effects. So, it has, when you attack with this, reveal the top X cards of your deck, where X is the number of Draconic links you control. So even though you attack with 4, they don't all have to be Draconic, but the number that are Draconic trigger the effect. Deal damage equal to the number of red cards revealed this way to any target, then shuffle. Also interesting, we see that both of them like to have mainly red cards. Interesting. Other than that, it's a weaker version. But then, of course, you don't have Phoenix Flames for the extra damage. And you don't do anything with the revealed cards either. This one I don't like so much. It doesn't have any real feel to it. You're just revealing to do damage. Just sustain. So you're trying to keep your hero alive and then just summon adds. So I'm assuming you don't have much in the way of block. Yeah, you can't even block with the minions. You can only pay to prevent damage. And you just have a few big actions. Interesting. Very interesting. Anyway, that's all I want to do, really, with this. We got through all 5 decks. Granted, I'm not going to use any of them. The first guy I actually want to build build around, is going to be Firelord Ozai. I forget his name. Drakai? The Emperor from Dynasty. It's going to be fun. Anyway, I'm not going to say hope you learned something, because this one was fairly atypical compared to the other ones. But interesting nonetheless. I think I have a a far better understanding now of the game, and I'm excited to play. See you next time.